Good evening. Thank you for joining. 2, 3 minutes and we'll start immediately, inshallah. طيب, tell few more people to join, inshallah. If you have any questions before we start. Any questions that you might have. Don't forget to make the participation sheet. Once again, if you're present, put an X, and for the first time, you will put the total number of bonuses that you have at the end of the day. So be sure that you have done so. And later on, put the bonuses that are relevant to the lecture that you're attending. Yeah. So for example, for the first lecture, the first column, you have to write, for example, X and then 10, 8, whatever. And then the next lecture, you will write just the bonuses that you have, for example, X and 2, or whatever. Any questions?
Doctor,
Yes.
when should we be in the third column or the second one?
There are two columns, two columns, two columns. So the
يعني
the
third
attendance and
attendance.
participation.
أنا قصدي
And
third attendance column ولا
today will be the third column. Yes, today, yes, will be the third column.
Okay. Didn't you share this sheet with us last Monday?
Yes, yes. It's a sheet on Google.
أيوة المفروض إن هو كان حسب من Monday today is the second attendance.
Yeah, today is the second one. Yes.
اوكي اصلا أنا شايف حد حاطط في الثيرد اتندنس مش عارف.
I'm not sure. Yeah. Okay.
دكتور، هو في الشيت الاي دي المكتوب جنب اسمي ده مش الاي دي بتاعي.
You can change it. Yeah.
Okay.
Just put the right information. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a demand that the lab should be recorded. Actually, the main reason that the lab is not recorded is actually that we fear that the main reason that the lab is not, sorry, 1 second. The main reason that the lab is not recorded is that we fear that if we record the lab, you will not attend. Yet we will try recording the lab for next week. And if we discover that you don't show up in the lab or the numbers decrease significantly, then we will not record the lab. Actually, the hidden lab is for you. And in this course, in 110, you do need the hidden lab. Yeah, you do need the hidden lab a lot. Yeah. So it's a golden time to practice what you have in the lecture. Yes, it's not graded. Yes, it is primarily for you, for the benefit for all of you. So next week, inshallah, we'll try to record the lab, and please do attend the same. If we discover that you don't attend, it's not a matter that we're being harsh or whatever so that we don't record the lab. It's a matter that we really want you to attend live, to ask questions live, to do the exercises on live basis. So we'll try recording the lab, and if it didn't work, so unfortunately we'll stop recording it. But I hope you understand the main purpose of not recording the lab. Okay. Another announcement. The assistants are the assistant noticed that you need a session for teaching you how to correct or how to debug or uh, how to manage the errors that you have when you compile your application. So we have decided, but the time is still unknown. We have decided to give you a session whereby this session we will primarily teach you how to debug, how to test your code, how to be able to manage the problems that are in the code. Because we discovered that maybe in 106 there are trivial problems, yet in 110 the code will be more challenging than 106. So having that said, having that said, we will give you a session whereby we will teach you how to debug, how to test your code, how to correct the mistakes that are in your code. We will announce this at UDime. This is number one. And number two, I will give you a session how to use GenMyModel. This is the online tool for designing the class diagram for UML, the class diagram and many other diagrams, of course. So we will be going through this inshallah next week, maybe on Tuesday, inshallah. Yeah. So I will teach you how to deal with GenMyModel in order to debug your code, in order to debug your code. Okay. Any further question before we start the lecture? Okay. So anyone that wish to participate with me, so he or she is more than welcome. Actually, yesterday in the actually yesterday this lecture will be quite long, and actually yesterday I repeated certain part in this lecture a lot, so I will repeat it if you have confusion about it. I just want to repeat something that I have said, and the time for this thing is now. Starting from the previous lecture, please do study and do listen to the lecture, lecture by lecture. Now you don't have the luxury to skip studying the slides and to skip listening to the lecture again and to skip and asking any questions for anything that you don't understand in the lecture. Now it's not a luxurious thing. I really, as a friend of you, advise you strongly that each lecture you have to study it, and each lecture, if you don't understand certain part, please come back to me, come back to the assistant, because that's really important. Because 110 is not the same as 106. I repeat, 110 is not the same as 106. So the base of the lecture will be starting to be a little bit fast. This is number one. Number two, the content of 110 is longer than 106, and things are really building on the top of each other. Things are really building on the top of each other. So please, please do study the lecture one by one, and if you have any confusion, just let me know or let the assistant know, so that we will be able to help you. Actually, there will be also some there will be one or two undergraduate assistants for the course, and they will help you for the projects. They were just assigned by the department, and I will let you know them inshallah next week. There is one person, at least one person, or at most two assistants. So they will be helping you as well on your assignments, on your projects, on anything that also you need in this project. Okay. So that's it from my side. The last slot for any question, and then we'll be safe to start, inshallah. Yeah. Okay. So on the previous time, we stopped at constructors. The constructor is a function that has the same name of the name of the class. Before we study the details of C++, what is the purpose of the constructor? The purpose of the constructor is to give some default or initial values to the private members of the class. So the main purpose of the constructor is to give default initial values for the private members of the class, the private member variables of the class. Someone will ask me, so the constructor is similar to the setter? Yes, the constructor is similar to the setter in one aspect and is not similar to the setter in some other aspects. So I'll repeat the purpose of the constructor. The purpose of the constructor is to give some initial, and I repeat initial, and I repeat initial values for the private member variables of the class. Later on, you can, based on the user input, you can change those variables, those values via the setter. So first you give a default values, and later on in your program, you get an input from the user and you change them again for again with the setter. How they are written in C++, it's different than how you write a normal function. It's quite similar in some way, and it is different in some other way. I'll give you an example about this, and I want from you to get some other examples as well. If you have a class that is called a bank account, and this class actually uh, has some functions that handle your bank account. So if you have an account at a given bank, then you have a class in your application, in your program, that will deal with this bank account. So why do we have a constructor? We have a constructor to have some initial or default values for the private members of the class. I'll give you an example. When you go at the bank and you want to open an account, so that they tell you in order to open this account, you have to deposit 1,000 pounds, for example, as a minimum deposit in order to open the account. So the bare minimum to open the account is 1,000 LE. Later on, if you want to deposit in this bank account, you start depositing and your balance will be more than 1,000. So the default value for your balance when you are opening the account will be 1,000. Later, it will be uh, as far as you deposit in this account, then the balance will be increased. So first, you initialize the object of the class by 1,000. So the balance private member function will be 1,000, for example, and later on you use the setter in order to increase the value of the balance, i.e. the balance member variable will be more than 1,000. So I want you to come up with some examples where we need a constructor, and then we will study together how the constructor is written in C++, is written in C++. So anyone that cares to give us like the need an example for the constructor?
Yes, I have an example.
Yes, please do.
If we have a class with some arrays in it, like an array for anything, and we have 4 or 5 indices, so we need to set these indices to 0 in the constructor
To do what?
increment them whenever we fill the array.
Yes. So thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, Mustafa. So what you're saying that you have an empty array, whether it's a dynamic array or static array, and then you fill it with zeros, and later on you fill it with the values that you get from the user. This is, I mean, a programmatic example, but I need an example from real life. I mean, something in business terms, like what I say is a balance and stuff like this. So
Yes,
give
Doctor.
the chance to other students.
Yes, Doctor.
You can say.
It's not in business, but it's in real life mathematics.
Yeah.
When we have a point in space composed of x and y, and z. When we call it, we need our default value, which is the origin point, 0, 0, and 0.
Yes.
So, and after then we can change it into anything we want.
That's great, Ghada. Thank you. This is a valid example as well as Mustafa. Who else want to give us an example?
So if somebody's creating a video game, and
Yes.
this entity in the video game has some health, each time they die or the first time they created, their health has to be initialized to some value, some initial
Yeah,
value.
that's great also, Yassine. So if you're using any kind of a game, so initially you have 3 lives before you die. So this is a real valid example. Thank you, Yassine, for this. Who else have one more example? Yeah, wake
So I
up.
have an example from the last assignment.
From what, Tamer?
Last assignment.
From the last assignment. Okay.
Assignment, we needed to create an array of objects of the class type book, and
Yes.
I personally wanted to know if there was a book or not through the number of pages. So if a location in the array, certain index doesn't have a book, I gave the number of pages equal to 0. So I needed the class to initialize all objects to have a number of pages of 0. And
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yes. Despite the noise yeah, I managed to hear you despite some noise around you. Are you in the cafe or something, Tamer?
Yes, unfortunately. I apologize.
ماشي. Okay, Tamer. Okay. Good luck. So Tamer is right as well, and it's a good way to for a problem that is relevant to the assignment. And Kenzie, you are right as well. So thank you all for the great examples. And let me tell you how the constructor is written. How the constructor is written.
Doctor,
So, yes.
can you please explain Tamer's example? I didn't actually hear it.
Actually, and also I forgot about Tamer himself. But he was speaking about the assignment, but I forgot it, yeah, because I started to say something else. So Tamer, can you repeat your example for Abdurrahman?
Yes, of course. Can you hear me now?
Yes, somehow.
Okay, I was saying that in the class bookshelf, we needed to initialize the number of pages in all books to be 0. So if you use a constructor for that, in which the constructor sets the number of pages in the books to be 0, that would be really convenient if you want to count the number of pages and assign any spot that doesn't have a book, have 0 number of pages. Sorry if my audio isn't.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Tamer. Uh, so, let's now see how the constructor, how we can write the constructor, and let's see how we can use the constructor as well from the main function. So, first, as I said, the constructor is a function. However, number one, it has no return type. So you don't find here int, bool, boolean, you don't find void, you don't find anything. You just don't find anything. And it has the same name. It has the same name of the class. It has the same name of the class. So this class is bank account and the constructor is bank account. Other than this, it's a normal function. So first, it has the same name of the class. Second, it doesn't return anything. So this is basically how to let's say declare or how to write a constructor. Then how you will be able to use the constructor. The constructor is used when you are creating an object that belongs to certain class. The constructor is being used from the main function when you are creating an object from this class. Let's see how this is done. So if we're coming here in this definition, we will find bank account 1. And this is basically what we used to declare an object that belong to the class that is named bank account. What's new here? What's new here that we are providing an input after between brackets after the name of the object. And we are going in this aspect to call a constructor. This is one way of calling the constructor. I'm going to explain this again. So wait a little bit. So the second way, I'll put another object. However, I will not put any brackets. And later in the lecture, there is a third way actually. So the first way is that we have an object and then we have two brackets here. We have another object and we don't have any brackets here. So this is how we use it. We used it from the main. Type. Let's see what will happen. So I am in the main function and I am here. I say bank account 100 and 2.3. So those are two input parameters. This is the first input parameter, and this is the second input parameter. This is the first input parameter, and this is the second input parameter. What will happen? What will happen is actually it will call the relevant constructor. It will call the relevant constructor. And by relevant, it is the constructor that matches the number of parameters that are there. So if we have two parameters here, 100, 2.3, so those are two parameters. So it will call a relevant constructor. And by relevant means one of those three constructors. Type. The second one, it doesn't have any brackets. It doesn't have any brackets. So it will be calling what's so-called a default constructor. What's so-called a default constructor. And the term default constructor means that it receives no input parameters, means it receives no input parameters, means it receives no input parameters, means it receives no input parameters. Okay? So this type of constructor is called a default constructor. This type of constructor is called a parameterized constructor. So we have number one, a default constructor. Number two, a parameterized constructor. What does it mean, a parameterized constructor? Means it receives an input parameter or parameters. This is what's meant by parameterized constructor. The default constructor receives no parameters at all. Type. What if you don't provide any functions that will serve as a constructor? So we assume that you don't have those three functions or those three constructors. Okay, what will happen? I don't have any function, any constructor that is named bank account. So the compiler will automatically call what's so-called a default constructor that does nothing. The compiler will call a default constructor that does nothing. If you don't provide a constructor, the compiler will call a default constructor that does simply nothing. This is how the language works. تمام. طيب. When we were discussing 106 review, we spoke about overloading. We spoke about overloading. So what is really overloading? Someone tells me what's really overloading?
function with the same name but عندها كذا parameter، يعني واحدة عندها 1، واحدة عندها 2، واحدة عندها 3.
تمام، ممتاز يا فادي، ممتاز. So Freddy is saying that an overloaded function is where I have more than one function with the same name, but with a different number of input parameters. The constructor can be overloaded. The constructor can be overloaded. The constructor can be overloaded, which means that this is a constructor. And how many inputs does it have? It has 3 inputs. This one has 2 inputs. This one has nothing. No inputs. Yet this constructor is named a bank account. This one is named a bank account. This one is named a bank account. So all of them are named bank account. So this means that the constructor as a function can be overloaded. 3 names, but with different input parameters. طيب. Let me select one friend for me to guide me through the so I'll have Ziad. Ziad?
Yes, doctor.
Yes, Ziad. So if we look here, so we are creating an object. And what is the name of the object that we are creating, Ziad?
Account 1.
Account 1. Great. And in this case, we are calling the first constructor, the second constructor, or the third one?
The second one.
The second one. Why? Because I have 2 input parameters, and the second one has 2 input parameters. Then, if I am having this object, I will be calling which constructor?
The third one.
ممتاز. And then if I am having this one,
The first one.
then I am the first one, and here we go. طيب, let's assume I am calling the second one, which is basically this one. So I will be calling the relevant function. So this is the second one, for example, Ziad. So what it is doing here, so just explain the purpose of this function, this constructor function, I mean.
Okay, just a second.
Okay.
It has 2 parameters, dollars and rate.
Yes.
It then checks if they are greater than 0, because it can't be less than 0.
Yes, and the rate is less than 0.
And then if they are okay to be, if they're greater than 0, then the dollars will be assigned to the balance variable, and the rate will be into interest rate.
ممتاز, ممتاز, ممتاز. So, also, what I wanted to tell you that the constructor sometimes is used for some validations, So you want to validate whether the user, whether the initial values that are provided, they are within certain range, and you want to apply certain rules, etc., etc. So at the end of the day, the main purpose of the constructor is to initialize the member variables of the class. And what are the member variables of the class? They are balance, and they are interest rate. They are balance and they are interest rate. So you want to initialize them by what? You want to initialize them by the inputs dollar and the input 8. So this is basically what we will do with the constructor. So Mahmoud,
Yes دكتور كان عندي سؤال بس هو what's the meaning of exit 1 يعني is that like the end of the function ولا ايه بالظبط؟
no, this means that you will exit the application.
اوكي يعني بتعوى في الابليكيشن
هتخرج بره يعني.
like return 0 مثلا يعني
like turn 0 but it turns with 1 not 0.
طب will it affect on coding if I didn't write
But return there's a difference between return and between exit. Exit it means that you will end your program. Return means that you might be returning from a function yeah. There's a difference yeah.
طب if I didn't type exit 1 يعني هيطلع برضه ولا هيحصل ايه؟
No it will continue يعني I'll tell you. خلاص if it didn't it will see out and if you don't have exit 0 it will assign balance equal dollars and interstate equal 8 yeah. Exit 1 it will terminate the program yeah Mahmoud. Okay
تمام شكرا.
and يعني مثلا there's another example if you're dividing by 0 مثلا if two numbers you're dividing by 0 so you don't want to continue the program so you say exit 1. Okay so it just exit the program or all of it.
Okay تمام.
Okay I am not sure in 106
حتى لو
ايوه يا ادهم.
excuse me هو لو احنا حتى في loop we just exit the program ساعتها
anywhere you say exit 1 it will exit.
اوكي ماشي.
اي حته تحط فيها exit it will exit the program يا ادهم.
اوكي
Okay طيب anyone doesn't understand what the constructor is doing let me repeat. تمام okay so we knew now the default constructor and the parameterized constructor. Then we will have what's so called a copy constructor, what we call a copy constructor. And the main purpose of the copy constructor, is that you want to create a copy of certain object member certain object values of the member functions, the member variables, and put it to another object. Do I speak Chinese? Yes, I speak Chinese. So I should show you what is this in a diagrammatic way. So what we said earlier that when an object is created, so in memory, there is a space in memory, and this space is created by the name of this object. So let's say that this object, based on the previous example, its name is account1, and then we do the constructor or we do a setter function, it doesn't matter. And then account1 balance is equal to 2000, for example. And any other variable, let's say rate is equal to 2 point.
Doctor, we can only see the slides.
The slides? You don't see what I'm writing?
لا يا دكتور I can see.
لا doctor I can see what you're writing.
Okay. Sorry, it was hidden by the camera.
Okay, see. So then the rate is 0.1. So account 1 balance equal 2000 and the rate is equal to 0.1. So this means in another language, account 1 dot balance is equal to 2000 and account 1 dot rate is equal to 2000. I created another object which is called account 2. Then this object will have a space in memory. The copy constructor will make the balance and the rate of account 1 the same as account 2. So in this example, so account 2 after the copy constructor, account 2 dot balance will be equal to 2000 and account 2 dot rate will be equal to 2.1. So this is equal to that and this is equal to that. This is how the copy constructor will be working, but we still didn't cover it. So Adham, you are trying to say something?
هو account 1 و account 2 دول in the same class صح؟
دول objects belonging to the same class.
اوكي
مش
طب
موجودين جوه الكلاس. Objects belong
ايوه
للكلاس.
so what is the difference between copy constructor and the default constructor if I'm creating the same values in balance and rate?
Well, it will be different than the default constructor. We will be seeing how they will be different, يعني. How it is different than the default constructor. This is what we'll be seeing in a moment.
Okay.
Yes.
I just said okay, sorry.
Okay, ماشي عادي. Okay. So in the previous lecture, and whoever picks this example, but not the ones that are re-attending from the other class, for the students of section 03. So in the previous lecture, we actually studied this copy constructor in one of the slides. So whoever picks it should give himself a double bonus, so 2 bonuses. Write this on the chat, don't speak, and write it privately, of course, to me. So the question again.
Sorry, doctor,
Yes.
can you repeat, please?
The question again. In the previous lecture, this functionality that I said, that I will make the variables of account 1 of account 2 the same as account 1, we had a slide for it in the previous lecture. What was the thing that we used to make the same variables for account 2 the same as account 1? Yes, Mustafa, you had a double bonus. طب I'll explain it in Arabic. No, Mustafa Abdel Khaliq. Muhammad Hashish, yes. Faridi Amjad, yes. Mustafa Abdel Khaliq, no. So بالعربي كده في حاجة احنا خدناها المرة اللي فاتت بتخلي الفاريبلز بتاعت account 2 يبقوا the same as account 1. غادة هنعتبرها صح بس مش صح قوي بس اوكي يا غادة.
Was it a concept يعني or a class example?
As a concept, yes.
Oh, okay.
No. أحمد مصطفى no. أدهم no.
ادهم ما قالش حاجه
لا في another أدهم.
كده والله.
والله.
اوكي.
Okay, I'll wait 10 more seconds. في حاجة there was one slide that it was a copy constructor, but we didn't say that it's a copy constructor. No يا محمود, no. No يا عبد الرحمن. So Freddy and Kenzie, but Kenzie, you were in no يا عبد الرحمن. Mahmoud, Khalid, no. In this point, I want to tell you that you have to study the slides lecture by lecture. But once again, it wasn't that clear. Yeah. معلش, it's my it wasn't that clear. So طيب Yasin, you were asking do you have a clue what it is? Just think.
I'm not sure, so
Not sure. Okay.
I can take a guess.
طب take a guess, ما كله بيجس يعني.
طب دكتور انا هموت واعرف طبعا هنفضل كده كتير.
تدفع كام يا آدم؟ Okay, anyways. Yasin, you will give it a guess or should I say it? Yeah.
No, I took a guess, but I think it's wrong.
No, it's wrong. Okay. So in the previous lecture, we spoke about the assignment operator. And if you remember, we were having, let's say, a class called the students. It wasn't the same example, but student. And I remind you of some stuff that you might think it has no sense. يعني ممكن تعتبر إن هي تفاهات. It's not. That you have to name the class as a noun, and you have to name it as singular. So anyways, student, and then let's say Freddy. You have Freddy as an object of student, and then another object that is Mahmoud. And let's assume that Freddy and Mahmoud, let's assume that Freddy dot age is equal to 19. Or you use the relevant setter function. It doesn't matter now. I'm just explaining the idea. And then you say Mahmoud is equal to Freddy. So this is an assignment operator, and it is indeed a copy constructor. And why it is a copy constructor? Because after this assignment operator, then it will turn out that Mahmoud.age is equal to 19. And assuming that I have two member variables, so let's say Freddy dot I don't know, Freddy.
Type, gender.
Oh yes, okay. Gender is equal to M. Then after this copy constructor, then Mahmoud dot gender will be equal to M. So
لو مكتوب في الكونستراكتور صح؟
نعم؟
لو مكتوب في الكونستراكتور انه ان الايج بتاع فريدي is 19 والجندر بتاع فريدي is M.
Exactly. او لو انت عملت setter function it doesn't matter يا ادهم.
ثانية يعني هو ازاي
طب
هيعمل
دكتور.
copy constructor من غير constructor؟
لا يعني انت هنا after this let's assume that you have a constructor and this constructor receives two parameters
اوكي
19 and m. okay and
بس حضرتك
محمود
قلت في setter function فانا اتلخبطت.
او ممكن تعملها بشكل تاني assuming that you don't have this then instead of this Freddy dot set age. By the way, when I make a setter and getter, يعني I am not mistyping. يعني you have to make an S small underscore and the A capital. That's a good style. يعني I mean. Anyways, set age 19 and you can say Freddy dot set gender, assuming that those functions are already exist. Okay, Adham?
اوكي وهاو
The
does it؟
other Adham, the other Adham.
بيتهيألي هو آدم.
هو ادم
Adam? Okay. Adam. Okay. معلش. Okay.
I have a question. اللي انا بعته حضرتك مش it could
نعم.
be the same meaning اللي انا بعته حضرتك اللي هو this x equals x احنا عملناه في اللاب.
I'm not sure what did you take in the lab يعني بس
احنا كنا خدنا اللي هو parameters x and y والparameters التانيين برضه x and y.
yes. The same, yes.
تمام.
Anyways, you set the age and gender to 19 and m, and then what's more important for me is this statement. What's more important for me is this statement. Mahmoud is equal to Freddy. Once you have this assignment operator, this is a copy constructor. اللي بيحصل automatically, what will happen automatically is that the age and the gender will be 19 and m automatically. Why? Because of this lovely equal sign. Okay, so Adham?
لو عملناها بسيترز ينفع
You can do the same.
ايوه انا بس
Yes,
لو
I understand you. Assume that you don't use a copy constructor. So what you have to do, this is another way. What you have to do is you make this and Mahmoud and this is Mahmoud. This is if you don't want to use this copy constructor. Okay?
انا قصدي لو عملناها بسيترز instead of a constructor مش هينفع ساعتها نستخدم copy constructor صح؟
لو عملتها بايه؟
لو عملتها بسيترز زي ما عملنا في set age و set gender بتاعت فريدي ساعتها مش هقدر اكتب محمود equals فريدي علشان ده copy constructor وهو كده ما استعملناش constructor من اساسه صح؟
لا مش فاهم خالص.
اوكي محمود equals فريدي هو بيكوبي البرايفت بيكوبي الاتريبيوتس ولا بيperform the same constructor؟
لا بيكوبي الاتريبيوتس.
اوكي يعني لو مفيش constructor هيكوبي برضو الاتريبيوتس بتاعت فريدي المحمود.
طب انا فهمتك تاني. فريدي is an object. خلاص. Once you write this it will call the default constructor. Okay, that does nothing. Okay, let's say assume that it does nothing. When you have Mahmoud, it will call a constructor that does nothing. طيب, I made a setter function and I made the age as 19 and the gender m for whom? Freddy. خلاص. دلوقتي the age and the gender for Mahmoud is what? Undefined.
Undefined لسه.
Undefined. When I say Mahmoud is equal to Freddy, what will happen? Automatically, Mahmoud.age is equal to 19 and Mahmoud.gender is equal to m.
Okay.
Understood?
So I don't have to write a specific type of constructor with certain like parameters أو حاجة جوه الكلاس علشان يعمل copy attributes من هنا لهنا.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone doesn't understand what's meant by a copy constructor? Yalla, 10 seconds for you. If anyone doesn't understand, I have a
Doctor,
I repeat. Yes, yes, yes.
if you don't define your own اتفضلي.
قول يا ياسين.
Okay, doctor, يعني if we don't define our own copy constructor, does the compiler create one?
Yeah. Yasin, you will know this in the upcoming 2 slides.
Okay.
Yes. And the answer is yes and no. It depends. Okay. Ghada, you want to say something?
Yes, if I want to Mahmoud to take only the age of Freddy, what should I do?
No, you don't use the copy constructor. You make a setter. يعني you want Mahmoud to take only the age. So either you use a setter or you say Mahmoud.age equal Freddy.age. Okay, Ghada?
Yes.
Amen. Any other questions? Okay. I understand it's Thursday and it's quite very cold, but we'll stay somehow a little bit late today also. Okay, so constructors, the default constructor, which is this one, we have explained it. The constructor is named cube, and the default constructor is cube, and the class is cube, and we make a default constructor that receives no input parameters, so we're fine with that. The parameterized constructor, we just have explained it, and once again, it's a constructor that receives some parameters. It's a constructor that receives some parameters. Okay. So coming back to a copy constructor, there are 2 kinds of copy constructors. There are 2 kinds of copy constructors. There are 2 kinds of copy constructor. One that is named shallow, and the other one that is named deep. Shallow means that 2 things. But I want you now in this slide to differentiate it by one thing. Shallow constructor means that the compiler will create a copy constructor for me. This is shallow copy constructor. Deep copy constructor, it means I will make a function that will do the functionality of the copy constructor. Type shallow, it means that the compiler will create a copy constructor for me. Deep means that I will code a function that will make a copy constructor for me. Let's see a shallow, yes, Yasin.
So, doctor, I just have a question. So in the copy constructor, if we have, if let's say the old object has one of its members as a pointer, and we copy it, doesn't that mean that the new pointer still points to the old memory location?
Now, can you repeat, Yasin?
So if we have an object of a class type,
yes.
object.
Oh, yes, understood. Yes. Yes, it will be still pointing at the old location, and the new object or the second object, and you have to wait also, Yasin, for the answer. The second object, the pointer will be pointing also at the same location for the new one, or at a different location. So again, it's a difference between the shallow copy constructor and the deep copy constructor. So just wait a little bit in that, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So shallow copy constructor, I just need you to remember that the compiler does one for you. And deep copy constructor, I want you to remember that it is a function that you write. Okay? So a shallow copy constructor, assuming that you look at this picture. I will explain it, of course, what's a shallow copy constructor. But assuming that you look at this picture, the shallow copy constructor reminds you with call by reference. No, I said it already. Okay. I burn what I have to tell you. Anyways, let me explain. The shallow copy constructor, you have an object that belong to a class that is named student, and you have another object that belong to the same class, which is student. Then what did you do? You make object 2 equal object 1. What will happen? What will happen is that the memory locations for the attributes that are in object 1, in object 2, they will be the same memory locations for the attributes that are in object 1, so that at any point of time in your application, if you change object 1 attribute, object 2 attribute will be changed automatically. Type. This sounds Chinese. I know that it sounds Chinese. I will repeat, of course. So, assuming that both Freddy and Yasin, both of them, they are working on the same Excel sheet, the same Google document, or all the class are working on the Google document for the participation that I have shared. If Freddy is changing to it, then Yasin will see those changes. If Yasin is changing, then Ghada will see the changes. If Ghada is changing, then Mahmoud is changing. So this is a shallow copy constructor. So the attributes, including Yasin, the pointers, will be all in the same memory locations for all of the attributes for the objects. So if I change object 1, it will be automatically changing in object 2. We will have an example about the shallow copy constructor. Once again, the shallow copy constructor is the one that is created by the compiler. So you don't see it in your code. I repeat it, you don't see it in your code. I repeat it, you don't see it in your code. Type. This class is called copy constructor. This class is called copy constructor. Yes, yeah, Kenzie. This one, this class is called copy constructor. This is just to explain the functionality of the shallow copy constructor. Name it يا جماعة anything you want. Name it فنكوش. Name it أدهم. Name it student. Name it bank account. Name it anything. The name of the class has nothing to do with what I am explaining. So let me have one friend with me. So I'll pick. So I'll pick Anna.
Yes, doctor.
Yes, yeah. So where's the constructor in this code, Yana?
Copy constructor. The first.
Yes, copy constructor. Yes, this is a constructor. Do you see anything strange in this constructor?
The
No. No, it's a normal. It's a normal constructor. What does it receive and what does it do, Yana?
It receive a chore, a pointer of type
Yes.
chore.
Yes.
And it make an array of chores in the scopy pointer.
Yes.
And it's a function called strcpy. Is it a function?
Yes. I will explain it. So I will explain it. First, there are two new functions that you didn't take before. And both of them exist in CString. Okay? But we will take them later in this course in so much details. The first one is called strcopy. And the second one is called strcat. Okay? The first one is named strcopy. And as the name implies, it copies the content of str to s_copy. So in this case, if str is having a value of copy, please concentrate يا جماعة. If str is having a value of copy, then scopy will have also the value of copy. So str here is equal to copy, and after executing this statement, s_copy will be equal to copy. تمام? What is scopy? Scopy is a private member of the class that is named copy constructor. So str is a pointer to a character, and which is basically a 1D dynamic array. It's a 1D array, and scopy is 1D dynamic array. Why it's a 1D dynamic array? Because there's something called new here. So I allocate 16 locations for scopy, and then I copy the content of str into scopy. So after executing this constructor, scopy will be having a value of copy. طيب, returning back to my friend Anna. So Anna, how many constructors do we have here?
2.
Where's the second?
No, it's only one.
It's only one. Great. So I have only one copy, one constructor here, and it's a normal constructor. Okay? It does nothing except that it initializes the value. It does nothing except it initializes the value of the string called scopy to be equal to copy. Okay? Then we have only one copy constructor, one constructor. Then I execute this statement. Copy constructor C2 is equal to C1. C2 is equal to C1. C2 is equal to C1. This is an assignment operator, and this is a copy constructor. And I don't have a copy constructor that I coded. And you will see how do I code what's so-called a deep copy constructor. So you see only one copy constructor. You see only one constructor. You see only one constructor. So I am making C2 is equal to C1. C2 is equal to C1. So what does the compiler do? C2 is an object of a class copy constructor, and C1 is an object of the class that is called copy constructor. Okay, and it's a shallow copy constructor. What does it mean, a shallow copy constructor? It means that I, as a programmer, didn't define a special function that will serve as a copy constructor. And this special function will have a very well-known format that we will see in the upcoming slide. So, copy constructor C2 is equal to C1. What will happen? First, the private member value of S underscore copy is equal to copy. Tamam. And this is the result of this constructor. What will happen after C2 is equal to C1? So C2 dot S underscore copy will be equal to C1 dot S underscore copy will be equal to copy. And because it is a shallow copy constructor, so both of them will be looking at the same memory location of S copy. So this is the memory location of S copy. And Yasin, this is a pointer. S copy is a pointer to 1D function. So S copy, it will have the value of copy, and both object 2 and object 1, they are both looking at the same memory location of S copy. They are sharing the same Excel sheet, ya jama'a. Both of them, they are looking at the same value of S copy. Let's see what will happen. C1 dot display. So it will see out the value of S copy. The value of S copy for C1, it is simply copy. And C2 dot display, the value of S underscore copy for C2 is also copy. Then I will execute this function called concatenate. Concatenate, what it will be doing? It will do strcat. And strcats concatenates two strings. يعني بالعربي بتلزقهم في بعض. Two strings, they are coming together as one string. So str is having the value of constructor, and then I am doing strcat is copy, which is having a value of copy. with str, which is having a value of constructor. So at the end of the day, s underscore copy for C1 will be having copy constructor. Okay, so C1.concatenate, it was having a value of copy, and then I attach to it constructor, then C1 dot sCopy will be copy constructor. Then I will display s underscore copy for C2. Automatically, it will be having a value of copy constructor. Why? Because both of them are looking at the same memory location. Both of them are looking at the same memory location. So the output for this function, for this main function, will be copy. This is C1.display, copy, and later on copy constructor and copy constructor. Okay, Abdurrahman, you wanted to say something, but before you say something, let me check if anyone doesn't understand a shallow copy constructor. Please, يا جماعة,
I don't understand. I don't understand like the relationship between str copy and يعني لما بدينا نتكلم عليها I just got lost. يعني إيه العلاقة بين ال str copy وال copy constructor؟
ملهاش أي علاقة. str copy اللي هنا. Yes.
So, why are we doing it?
Why are we doing it? Simply first, this is a function. Yes. Why are we doing it? Simply to let this string called s underscore copy will have the value of str. What is the value of str? Let's do it from the beginning. Type. I am calling this function, yeah, then I am calling this function. So what is the value for str? I am calling this function C1, and then I put between double quotes copy. Copy. Then after doing this function, what will be the value of sCopy?
Copy?
Yes. So simply it will equalize a string with another string. ملهاش علاقة بالايديا بتاعت الكوبي كونستراكتور، فاهماني؟
اوكي خلاص ماشي. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone doesn't understand يا جماعة? We'll have just 10 more minutes بس to explain the deep copy constructor. Okay? Anyone doesn't understand يا جماعة?
Doctor, can I ask my question?
Yes, sorry.
هو str copy basically copies a string onto another onto another string, and strcat adds the other string to the other.
Add one string to the other. Yes.
So that's the function of the strcat and str copy, right?
Yes. I'll give you an example separate of this code. str copy, assuming that you have an empty string called Anna, and called Anna, and then this is my name. So at the end of the day, Anna will be equal to this is my name. Okay. strcat, if I have a string called Anna, and another string called Kamal. Kamal is equal hi there. So str cat Rana will be this is my name. Hi there. Is it okay, Abdurrahman?
Oh, yes, yes, I got it.
Okay, okay. Okay, so this is a shallow copy constructor. This is a shallow copy constructor. Then a deep copy constructor. Then a deep copy constructor. It is similar to a shallow copy constructor, and it is different than a shallow copy constructor. So it is similar in the sense that it copies the member variables of certain object to another object, but it copies them one time, and both objects are stored at different memory locations. So when you change an object variable, the other one will not be changed. I'll explain it before the example. So before the example, I will explain it separately. So I have C1 and C2. C1, this is C1, and this is C2. Okay, and S underscore copy for C1 is simply copy. And I will make C2 is equal to C1. Then S underscore copy for C2 will be equal to copy. However, both C1 and C2 S underscore copy, they have separate memory locations. It's not the same as the shallow copy constructor. It's not the same as the shallow copy constructor. They have different location. So at the beginning, it copies the content of S underscore copy of C1 to C2. And then if I change S underscore copy for C1, it doesn't affect C2. Again, if I change the content of S underscore copy for C1, it will not later on change the content of S underscore copy for C2. Why? Because both of them are in different memory location. Let's look at this, how it look like. This is C1 and this is C2. This is S underscore copy. It was having a value which is copy. Then I will make C2 is equal to C1. Then what will happen? Then S underscore copy will be equal to copy. Then I will change the value of C1.S copy. I will make it anything, Kamal. It will not affect the later on the value of S underscore copy for C2. Why? Because both of them are in different memory location. So first, I have one Excel sheet for Freddy, one Excel sheet for Yasin. I copy the Excel sheet of Yasin to the Excel sheet of Freddy. Then Freddy will change in his Excel sheet. It has nothing to do with what Yasin is changing in his Excel sheet. This is called deep copy constructor, shallow copy constructor. Both of them are looking to the same Excel sheet. Someone changes here, some other one changes there. Okay, so this is the difference. Let's see the code. Malish, I'm sorry for being a little bit late. I'll have more 10 minutes. I appreciate your patience with me. Let's have the code, and I will have one friend with me. So I'll have Fadi. Fadi, are you there? Yes. So how many constructors do we have?
Two constructors.
The first one is the normal constructor we have, and the second one is what's so-called a copy constructor. Someone tell me why are you naming it copy constructor? This is for the sake of the example. The class can be anything, can be Fadi, can be Fankush, can be student, can be anything. Anyways, so we have two constructor. One which is named a normal constructor, and the other one is a copy constructor. And why it is a copy constructor? Then why it's a copy constructor? Because we are equating two objects together. So the first one, let's take it step by step and see together how it will look like. So let's go together. Fadi, copy constructor C1 copy. So it will call the first constructor or the second one?
That's the first constructor.
The first constructor, which is a normal constructor. So the value of S copy will be equal to, so C1 dot S underscore copy will be equal to what, ya Fadi? C1 dot S underscore copy. Fadi? So we will call the first constructor. So C1 dot S underscore copy will be equal to what?
Copy.
Copy. Okay, that's great.
والنت بس وحش.
Okay, ما فيش مشكلة. Then copy constructor C2 is equal to C1. It will call the first copy constructor, or the first constructor, or the second one? The second one. Let's go over there. Let's go over there. What is the input for the function for the second constructor? What's basically this? I'll explain it. Maybe it's the first time you see it. So
object.
Okay, Adam. So it is an object called str that belongs to the class called copy constructor. So basically, copy constructor, and then it takes, this is the name of the constructor, it takes copy constructor, and it takes an object that is named str, and this is called by value or called by reference?
Called by reference, sorry.
By reference, great. So it receives an input, an object which is called str type. str, this is the object which is C1. يعني C1 I am passing the object which is C1 to the function. تمام؟ I am passing the object which is C1 to the function. يعني str is the same as C1. يبقى يا فادي str dot s underscore copy is equal to what يا فادي؟
Copy.
Is copy. And it is the same as C1 dot s underscore copy. Then str copy s underscore copy, this belongs to C1 ولا C2?
C2.
C2. يبقى str copy C2 dot s underscore copy. I will copy to it the value of copy. So after executing this, C2 dot s underscore copy will be equal to copy. Should I continue يا جماعة? Please make sure that you understand this. This is a copy constructor. I am the programmer who have made it. I am the programmer who have made it. In the shallow copy constructor, there was nothing. The compiler will assume it is there. طيب. Now, C1 dot s underscore copy will be at memory location. Let's assume it's 1000. C2 dot s underscore copy will be at memory location, let's say 2000. C1 dot s copy will be equal to copy. C2 dot s copy will be equal to copy, but it is in a different memory location. Let's see how it will go. C1 dot display, so it will go to the screen copy because C1 dot s copy is equal to copy. C2 dot s copy is equal to copy. لغاية هنا كويس؟ طيب C1 dot concatenate constructor. Then Freddy, C1 dot s copy after this will be equal
copy construct.
At location 1000 will be equal to copy constructor.
والsecond object مش هيبقى
then C2 dot then C2 dot display C2 dot s underscore copy that exists in location 2000 will be what?
Copy.
Copy. That's great. So look at it for 1 minute and let me explain it again. I know it is a hard concept. I know. معلش حقكم عليا. Please look at it. I know it's Thursday night, but please look at it. عشان خاطر. What you have to do, the moment that we leave the lecture, you might have some confusion of what I am saying. The moment we leave, if you didn't study it tomorrow in the morning, or at least tomorrow, everything will be gone. I leave it 1 minute and then I'll explain something in 1 second and that's it. Okay, so I'll explain whatever I want to explain. So we have a constructor and then we will explain what is a destructor. A destructor is the same as the constructor. It has the same name of the class name. And in this example, the destructor is this function. However, it has this sign, which is basically this sign. This indicates that we are having a destructor, and the destructor, we only have one destructor in the class. The constructor, we can have so many constructors in the class. The destructor, we have to have one. We have to have one. So the destructor means that we have to have one. It's the same name of the class, the same name of the class. So what is the purpose of the constructor? The destructor. The purpose of the destructor is to free, mainly, we are using it to free the memory that we have allocated for the member variables of the class. Again, we are using it to free the memory that we have allocated it for the variables of the class. طيب. In the constructor, we have allocated a 1D dynamic array for S underscore copy, new character 16. So there is new 16 characters for S copy. In the destructor, whatever we have allocated dynamically for the constructor will be deallocated, هيفضى in the destructor. In this destructor, we use delete and then S copy, and this indicates that I am deleting a 1D dynamic array. طيب, what if I don't put a destructor in my code? First, it's a good practice that you put a destructor, especially if you have allocated the memory dynamically, especially if you have allocated the memory dynamically. You have to put a destructor. You have to put a destructor. Whatever you have allocated, you have to free, so that the compiler or the operating system will be able to allocate memory for another application or for other variables that will be allocated by the application. If you don't provide a destructor, the compiler will assume that there's a destructor that does nothing. If you don't put a destructor, the compiler will assume that there's a destructor that does nothing. If you make a dynamic memory allocation using new, you have to make a destructor and delete those pieces of memory. This is a best practice thing that you have to follow. At this moment, I finalized this lecture. I am sorry, as always, for being lengthy in my lecture. This is due to too many questions, and I believe in participation a lot. If you don't understand anything, you can stay at after the lecture. Otherwise, have a good evening, and thank you very much for joining, and see you next week. Have a great weekend, inshallah. Thank you very much.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
Thank you, doctor.
دكتور، هو أنا لو لسه عشان موضوع جديد وكده فأنا لسه متلخبطة فيه شوية. لو أنا ذاكرت الدرس يعني من السلايدز وأخدت نوتس وكده ولقيت نفسي برضو لسه متلخبطة، ممكن أبعت
ثواني يا كارمل بس أقفل